Let's talk about why you're not journaling. Okay, well, let's first talk about why journaling is by far, bar none, the very best, most effective, free healing tool that you can possibly make use of. So, journaling has been something that has gotten me through the last 12 years, and it's something that I recommend all of my clients do. And here are the reasons why. It's not about the activity. It's not about the doing and the sitting with a piece of paper and a pen and just writing things down. The intention of a journaling practice is it is the best way for you to open space and time and intention. And yes, there is a doing factor where you meet yourself fully, however you are. If you are sad, if you are angry, if you are feeling defeated, if you are feeling lost, you meet yourself in that place. And that is how you invite all of those parts of yourself to the table. Journaling can be your letters to God. It can be the letters to your parents, your friends, or your ex that you're never going to send. It can be where you write about your dreams, about your gratitude, and about all of the things that are rattling around in your mind that are just taking up space. I recommend journaling to my clients every single time. And I still, after all this time, it's my go-to. I don't do it every day, but if I need to have a little chat with God, or if I need to write a letter to somebody to say what's what that I'm not going to say to their face, but I'm going to say it because I need to say it because I need to get it off my chest because the problem is actually a me thing, my journal's where I go. My journal has also become the place where I channel my guides, because it's the place that over years and years of creating a practice, it is the place where all of the parts of me, not just the wounded and the traumatized and the sad and the left behind parts, but all of the parts that I am becoming, they all meet me in that space. I become my own therapist, my own best friend, and my own guide when I journal. And that is why I recommend journaling for everyone. So let's talk about why you're not journaling, because I have something pretty powerful to unveil to you. Typically, when I say to clients about journaling, I get responses like, oh, I'm not good at journaling. I don't know why. I've tried to journal in the past. That just doesn't work for me. Do you have like something else you could recommend? And when I feel into who is really talking and what is actually being said, I ask them, well, why do you think that is? And sometimes I get, I don't know. And a version of you does know, but that's fine. So the I don't knows, there's also, I don't like my penmanship. I have a learning disability. My hands don't work that great, so writing isn't easy for me. I'm afraid somebody's going to read it. There's all kinds of very legitimate responses. I'm not judging anyone, but I want to show you where the hijack in your healing is starting to happen. Every single one of those, I don't do it, I don't like it, I can't do it, I don't spell well, I don't like to write. Whatever the reason is that journaling has not become a part of your regular practice is actually the ego hijacking your healing. Your ego is your protector. Your ego thinks that if you go there, if you put pen to paper and start pouring out your heart and meeting with and entertaining and allowing and feeling the parts of yourself that you have not yet felt, you are going to die. So it's not your ego's fault that it influences your journaling practice, but it is up to you to be aware of when it is trying to prevent you from doing the very thing that you are trying to honor, and that is your healing. And dissolving and unifying with all of those parts of yourself. It is the ego that is trying to protect you from the pain, from the trauma, from the feeling, from the memories. And that's its job. But every time you go to journal and you get distracted, that's the ego finding something else for you to do. If you don't like journaling or you don't like your penmanship, those are all the reasons that the ego is using to support you. And in many cases, the more that the client is aware that this is what is happening and they try to push I'm going to push through this ego hijacking and I'm going to try it and do it anyway, the harder and harder it becomes to do because the ego resists. It's like trying to pull a dog through a doorway. It doesn't want to go and it just puts on the brakes. So here's what I'd like to offer. I'd like to offer you some journal prompts that are just sort of commonplace. Like, where do I start, Sheila? What do I just sit down with a pen and paper and just wait for something to come? So I'd like to offer you some journal prompts that will help get you started in some of the more general ways that I see in client sessions. Although having a session would mean that the prompts you got from me would be more specific to what we talked about in your session. I would also like to address that the practice of journaling is a being, not a doing. So here are some of like the other pitfalls that can happen. I've had clients that have bought specific journaling workbooks. That's great and fine, and it works for some, but what the workbook style can do is it can call out the linear mind that now wants to do a workbook, like as though you were in school, like as though it's something you have to get correct. So structure helps some people get on their journaling journey, but structure can also get in the way of it as well because it calls upon a certain aspect of you. So be mindful around what kind of journal. I always recommend that you go and you buy something that is beautiful, that either feels nice, the imagery on it's beautiful, you like the way that the pages are lined. Like, don't buy a dollar store workbook lined paper. Go and buy yourself something nice. And then from that point on, the intention is, this is where I connect. It is in this journal that I'm going to connect with myself, that I'm going to show myself that I matter. I am going to have my conversations with God, whether they're good, bad, or ugly. This is where I'm going to go when I really need to divulge myself of how I'm feeling and then coach myself through it. And eventually, you will reach a point where this is where I go to channel the higher guidance. But it's a practice. It's a doorway. It's a portal. It is a beingness. This journaling practice isn't about doing the journaling and going, okay, well, I did my journaling, and you close the book and you put it away for another day. I did my journaling today. It is a container. It is a beingness that you surrender into with a willingness to allow yourself, excuse me, to be and to express whatever. And it doesn't matter. There is no judgment. I'm trying to think of what other comments came in. I did this content on TikTok yesterday and there were some good questions. The other thing that you can fall into is superficiality with your journaling practice. Particularly people that have been on the path and have been journaling for a certain amount of time, you can kind of fall into a bit of like a rut or like just autopilot process of, yeah, I just open my book every day and I just write what I'm grateful for and I close it. And, I've been journaling for years. But if you're not taking yourself to the depth of the core that Ascension is asking you to, then it can be too superficial. So go to the deeper places. Have the courage to really sit with and be with your inner child experience, with the relationship breakup, with whatever it is that is showing up in your life right now that is something that is being asked from deep within you to have some airtime, some space. It's looking to be dissolved. Know that when you write about something and that you really invite yourself to really immerse in a certain frequency, a certain consciousness, a certain memory, wound, or trauma, that you are not manifesting more of it. Know that if you write letters that you are not going to send to anyone, to your parents or your ex or whoever, that you are not doing some kind of like voodoo witchcraft on them. When you sit down with the intention of your journaling practice to be a healing container where you meet you and show you that you matter and invite in the aspects of you that are looking to be loved and seen by you, Your higher self knows that that's what you're doing, and you are literally held in a bubble of love that is supportive of your healing. So let's talk about some journaling prompts. I'm going off the top of my head here, so let's go. How did it feel for you being a child? In your childhood, how did it feel? Did you feel safe? Did you feel loved? Was it playful? What was it like for you to be a child? And if that goes into memories, then go ahead. Let the pen take you wherever it is it needs to go. What was your relationship like with your mom? What was your relationship like with your dad? In both of these cases, we are not looking to protect anyone or justify the experience. We're looking to deeply, deeply honor the experience of the child through the lens of the child. So if it was something as simple as mom and dad both went to work and that made the child feel abandoned, then allow that child aspect of you to have some airtime, to write about how abandoned they felt. Don't bypass into or over intellectualize the bigger picture. What did you like to used to do when you were a child? What kind of child were you? Were you really creative? Did you like to dance? Were you rough and tumble? What did you like to be outside? Were you an indoor kid? Those are real clues to possibly some of the activities and the ways of being that you're not integrating into your adult life that you need to bring back. If you are journaling about the ending of a relationship, or that you still have some baggage to deal with about a relationship, then write the letters and know that it's going to come in many forms. When I went through the ending of my marriage, I wrote a number of letters over a period of time as it was coming up through me. And it started with the really, really angry ones, and then the really, really hurt ones, and then the ones where I started to take some personal responsibility for the role that I had played. And then in the end, I was finally able, the last letter was a letter of gratitude, that him releasing me and allowing me the space to feel and heal what I needed to feel to birth this version of me was the greatest gift he could have ever given me. So allow yourself to evolve through that process and be authentic. If you need to swear and underline and rip pages because you're just so angry, then let that be. Be courageous and authentic. So letters that you're not going to send can go to an ex, to a friend, to a mom, to a dad, to a teacher, to an old coach, to a boss. It can be anything at all. This is about you having the courage to really sit and allow and hold space for that version of you that is angry or sad, to just have some time with you, receiving the love that version of you needed. Make a jot list of things that you are afraid of, and then look at the list and explore where that plays out in your life. Make another list on another day of how do you want to feel living your life? Do you want to feel loved and safe and adventurous and expansive and sexy and funny and seen and heard and all of those things? Write it all down. Feeling words is how we manifest. And by using those feeling words as your benchmark for how you make decisions in your life, when you have that list and you go, well, will this decision or this person or this place bring more of that or less of that? You can start to really navigate your life in a way that is creating momentum with the universe. Be honest and write a list of how your life feels right now. How does it feel to be you? And be honest. The universe can only ever meet you in your authenticity. If you are in a place where you really just don't like your life, you don't like ascension, and you think this whole thing is just a bunch of BS because that's where you're at right now, then write about it. That is bringing in your authenticity. And again, that's where the universe can meet you. Don't try and bypass it. Don't try and go into false gratitude. Be honest. Trying to think if there's anything else. Anything that happens to show up in your life in any given moment Like if you just sit down one day to journal and you're just going to literally just review your day, how your day went, talk about the good things. For sure, talk about the good things. But really reflect on, wow, when that person at work said such and such to me, that really triggered me. Or I'm really like feeling crunchy about my relationship with my partner right now. Or, oh my God, the kids are getting on my nerves. Meet yourself with that narrative and then use the journaling practice to unpack the triggers that will allow you to get to the core of what it is that is the bleed through from the inner child that is coming through you and affecting how you perceive yourself and your reality. Your triggers are gold. They are always pointing you in the direction of what is looking to be healed next. So sit with your journal and look at your triggers. Look at your triggers for the day. When you look out into the world, what is it that pisses you off the most? Write a little bit about it and unpack it with yourself. The other key, and it's probably the final thing I need to say, is that journaling is not about fixing. Journaling is healing, but the healing is the byproduct of meeting yourself in a consistent place of authenticity, transparency, and vulnerability. You're not actually there to heal anything or to fix anything or have the answers to anything. You are there to learn how to be your own person in every way, shape, and form. So there is no fixing. There is no getting it right. No one's going to check your spelling. You don't have to go into a journaling session with a head full of shit and come out with an answer. That is not how this is supposed to go. You're merely learning how to show up for you and how to hold space for you and how to unpack how you live your life and how it feels being you in your life. And that then becomes the healing process. All that you are willing to courageously look at and be with eventually dissolves all that you are not. The healing is the byproduct. Okay, so I do have one last thing to say. Make it nice. Go to a coffee shop. Treat yourself to a latte if that's what you like. Pour a glass of wine and maybe light a candle. Make the ceremony of you doing your journaling practice not something that you just fit in whenever you can. Make it something sacred, because you are sacredly calling out to and being with all of the parts of yourself that matter the most. So whatever it looks like for you, make it something nice. Make it your date with you and do it regularly until you feel that you don't need to do it anymore. Journaling is a tool. I know I said do your journaling, but it is about being, and you have to remember that too. And keep track of that ego that is going to distract you and tell you that today's not the day, or that you can't, or that your handwriting isn't good enough. I hope that this helps you and gets you started on a really deep, sacred practice of journaling so that you can heal and meet those parts of yourself that have been waiting for you for a long time. Until next time, bye for now.